Hello and welcome to Pokemon Explained. Happy New Year! With the decade now behind us, I thought, what a great time to look back on the past 10 years of Pokemon games. This is my personal opinion on the top 10 Pokemon games of the decade. Before I start the list, I'd like to give an honourable mention to Pokemon Go. The Pokemon Go mobile app was released in July of 2016. When it launched, it was super buggy and had a lot of issues, but for a couple of months, it brought Pokemon to the attention of the mainstream, bringing past players back and getting new people into Pokemon. These days, the game is much more stable, and they are constantly updating it with new events in Pokemon. While it might not be the best Pokemon game, it definitely impacted the franchise. Number 10. Pokemon Sun and Pokemon Moon. Released in November of 2016, Pokemon Sun and Moon were set in the Alola region. Unlike other games in the franchise, these games do not have gym battles, instead they opted for trials. Trials are basically complete a task and battle a totem Pokemon, and let me tell you, trials suck. I am sorry if you're a fan of Pokemon Sun and Moon, but I do not like these games. Here's why. Z moves suck. Ultra Beasts suck. Aether Foundation sucks. Team Skull, actually pretty cool I guess. The story sucks. They tried to make an interesting story, but in my opinion they did not succeed. And when your game is pushing a story, the way Sun and Moon tries to, you want it to be good. I hate how hand-holdy these games are. I hate you don't have any freedom for like the first hour of playing the game. As for replayability, I like to do playthroughs with a different rule set and challenges with my friend Rowan, however I never want to play Sun and Moon again. Number 10. Again. Pokemon Ultra Sun and Pokemon Ultra Moon. Upgraded versions of Pokemon Sun and Moon were released 1 year later in November of 2017. Remember earlier how I said I never want to play Pokemon Sun and Moon again? Well I did, because these games are so similar. Yes, I know the enhanced versions of the games are always similar, and to be fair, Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon are better games. I just still don't like them. This is how Sun and Moon should have been in the first place. Number 9. Pokken Tournament DX. Originally a Japanese arcade game, Pokken Tournament is a Tekken-like fighting game released for the Wii U in March of 2016. Later, an enhanced version called Pokken Tournament DX was released for the Nintendo Switch in September of 2017. A well thought out fighting game that is both easy to pick up for people new to the fighting game genre, but also has surprisingly deep mechanics. There are plenty of skills and combos to master, boasting a large roster of 23 playable Pokemon and even more support Pokemon. The visuals look fantastic and it's fun to play against your friends. Number 8. Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee. In November of 2018, the first RPG Pokemon games for the Switch were released. These games are set in Kanto and kind of like a Yellow remake, but different. The games are heavily inspired by Pokemon Go. You can see the Pokemon in the overworld. You do not battle the wild Pokemon, you just start throwing Pokeballs at it. Pokemon Let's Go is actually kind of fun. For a while, until the novelty wears off. In saying that, I really enjoyed throwing the Pokeball Plus accessory to catch Pokemon and thought it was really neat that you could play the entire game with just a Pokeball controller. But I found the game lacked substance. It was a really cut back version of Pokemon with core mechanics completely missing from the game, such as the day-night cycle, attacks, items, held items, abilities, and breeding. That doesn't sound too bad, right? Did I mention they removed 486 moves from the game? Completing the Pokédex is super easy, and once you catch all 153 Pokemon in the game, there really isn't much left to do, except Shiny Hunt. Number 7. Pokemon X and Pokemon Y. On October 12th of 2013, Pokemon X and Pokemon Y were released worldwide. These games are leaps and bounds ahead of the games I have mentioned on this list so far. Pokemon X and Y are set in the Kalos region, inspired by France. The story is good and there is a lot to do in these games. With a large Pokédex of 457, you'll be catching Pokemon for days. These games are very innovative and made some great improvements to the franchise. They were the first Pokemon games released for the 3DS, and with the more powerful hardware, Pokemon moved from being just 2D sprites to actual 3D models. Not just the models were improved, but also the sound. Many older Pokemon received newer and more realistic cries. Mega Evolutions were introduced. X and Y added the Fairy type, a new type for balancing the game, something that hadn't been done since Generation 2. Number 6. Pokemon Sword and Pokemon Shield. Released in November of 2019, the newest Pokemon games, Sword and Shield, are a breath of fresh air after what I found to be a disappointing Generation 7. It went back to a more traditional Pokemon game while still offering something new. Set in Galar, a region inspired by the UK, the wild area is a cool new way to traverse the region. This is a way to add something new to the franchise that has potential to be improved upon in future games. Raids are a fun activity to do with friends. The story was enjoyable, although it had pacing issues, particularly the last quarter with the evil team feeling shoehorned in. Now that I have finished the game though, I'm finding that there is not a whole lot to do. Not enough post-game content. However, the game does have some replayability. I've already completed the game twice. The National Dex controversy was not as big a deal as I thought it would be. There is a wide variety of Pokemon available, and with a big Pokédex containing 400 Pokemon. However, now that the games are on a home console, I do expect better. Some of the visuals are ugly, and I would expect voice acting. Plus, the online could use some improvement. It's a bit of a mess. The wild area is very laggy online, and the password system is not very good. I'm constantly being paired with other people who happen to use the same password as me. But apart from those issues, I like the direction the franchise is heading. Number 5. Pokemon Black and Pokemon White. Pokemon Black and White are DS games that released in the West in March of 2011. Set in the Unova region inspired by New York, these games are kind of like a reset for the Pokemon franchise. No Pokemon from previous generations could be caught, forcing you to use a team of Pokemon you have never used before. This felt like a brand new adventure, giving the same feeling of playing Pokemon Red and Blue for the first time. The Pokemon have great and unique designs, even if Vanillite is just an ice cream Pokemon. The story is interesting and makes you question the morality of forcing Pokemon to battle each other. My only complaint is the sprites are kind of ugly, but I get it, they are constantly moving. Number 4. Pokemon Conquest. A spin-off game released for the DS in English in June of 2012. The game setting is similar to feudal Japan. It features various warriors and warlords named after figures in Japanese history. Pokemon Conquest takes place in the Ransai region, which is in the shape of an Arceus. The region is divided into 17 kingdoms, each specializing in a different type of Pokemon. Various Pokemon from Gen 1 through 5 appear in the game. Pokemon Conquest is a tactics game featuring a turn-based strategy battle system different from that of a main series Pokemon game. Battles take place in a battlefield setting, up to 6 Pokemon on each side. Both sides take turns moving and attacking with their Pokemon. A battle is won by achieving certain conditions. As for replayability, there is a lot to do. After completing the main storyline, players are able to take on 32 special episodes, each featuring one of the other warlords and having different objectives, often referencing real historical events. If you're looking at picking up a different kind of Pokemon game, I highly recommend this. Number 3. Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. Released for the 3DS in November of 2014. Set in Hoenn, Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire are remakes of Ruby and Sapphire with multiple improvements and a few minor changes such as Morville City being bigger. The early game is easier than the original, however the late game is harder. Mega Evolutions are also in the game, with more added since X and Y's release. There's a great post-game where you can get Mega Rayquaza and Deoxys in the Delta episode. You can use the Eon Flute to fly around the skies of Hoenn on the back of Latias or Latios depending on the game. While doing this, you can visit small islands that change daily, which is reminiscent of the Mirage Island from the originals. On these islands, you can catch Pokemon that are normally unavailable in the Hoenn region and get rare items and TMs. There is a sneak mechanic where you can stealthily sneak up on Pokemon in the grass. Pokemon encountered this way can be higher level, have better stats, rare moves, held items, and even their hidden ability. If you look on the bottom screen of the 3DS on any given route, you can see what Pokemon you'll be able to find there. This is a really nice touch, especially since the art on the bottom screen is in the style of the Gen 3 games. Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire are great remake games and I strongly recommend them. Number 2. Pokemon Black 2 and Pokemon White 2. Released in the West of October 2012, Pokemon Black 2 and White 2 aren't just simple upgraded versions of Black and White, they are full-fledged sequels, set 2 years after the events of Pokemon Black and White. You play as a different protagonist and start the game in a new area with new gym leaders. The story continues from the last game, with Team Plasma being split into 2 factions. You get to see your rivals from Black and White, Cheren, who is now a gym leader, and Bianca, who is now an assistant to Professor Juniper. Unlike the originals, you can catch Pokemon from all different generations with a regional Pokedex of 301. There is also keys to change the difficulty exclusive to each version. In White 2 you can get the key for Easy Mode, and in Black 2 the key for Challenge Mode by defeating the Elite Four. The respective keys can be transferred from one player to another. Unfortunately, these games did not sell well, and it's getting harder and harder to find a copy. If you're looking at getting these games, I would recommend getting one ASAP. Number 1. Pokemon HeartGold and Pokemon SoulSilver. Released in Japan in September of 2009, but technically still part of this decade as they did not receive an English localization until March of 2010. Pokemon HeartGold and SoulSilver are DS remakes of Pokemon Gold and Silver. In my opinion, not only are they the best Pokemon games in the decade, but they are also the best Pokemon games in the franchise. Pokemon HeartGold and SoulSilver have everything you would want in a Pokemon game and more. For starters, they were bundled with the Pokewalker, an accessory which you could take your Pokemon on walks, find items, catch Pokemon, and exchange mystery gifts with friends. As for the game, it's set in Johto, which neighbours Kanto. It takes place 3 years after the events of Pokemon Red and Blue. There is not a lot of story, but what is there is exceptional. You take on the Team Rocket faithful trying to restore Team Rocket to its past glory. It's a simple story that goes to show you don't need world-ending consequences for an interesting story. Probably the most difficult game in the franchise, they can give you a real challenge, particularly in the Elite Four. As for the post-game, the entire Kanto region is unlocked, as well as the option to rebattle stronger gym leaders. Once you have all 16 gym badges, you are able to take on a stronger Elite Four, and even a final boss battle with Red atop Mount Silver. Pokemon from Gen 3 and 4 can also be obtained in the post-game. In my opinion, HeartGold and SoulSilver have the best soundtrack and best sprites. They really have a timeless quality as the art style really fits the hardware. As for replayability, these are probably the Pokemon games I have replayed the most. I could go on for hours about how good HeartGold and SoulSilver are, but I'll save that for a future video where I go more in depth. These games are so good I'll be playing them for many decades to come. You can really tell a lot of love for the franchise went into making these games. Well, that's my list. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, it really helps out a lot. Subscribe for more Pokemon Explained content, and feel free to follow me on Twitter.